Hello, everybody. I'm Krasi Attasio. I will talk today with Ashwin Balaji, who is a Vedic astrologer, and we will talk about love at first sight in astrology, how to determine this in the horoscope, how to predict whether such thing will happen, and just in general, this will be the topic from Vedic point of view and from the point of view of the ancient Babylonian astrology. So would you like to start, Ashwin? Tell me from your point of view of the Vedic astrology, how do you recognize the love at first sight in the horoscope?
Okay, first, thanks for having me on. And
Pleasure.
it is one of the most interesting topics that so many people might actually want to hear. Uh, okay, the planet of love is Venus. And I've also seen that Mercury also kindles such emotions. But from a very logical point of view, I think when it comes to love at first sight, we need to follow the faster moving planets very closely. So if any faster moving planet is actually uh, making a particular connection to your natal chart, either the fifth house or fifth lord or seventh house or seventh lord, uh, a person might actually tend to get into a relationship or something. But
Let's just say, Ashwin, in brackets, which are the fast moving planets. So these are Venus,
yeah,
Mars, Mercury, and the Moon. Yes,
yeah, Venus.
because they're near us.
Yeah, Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Moon. But I would like to give uh, greater importance to Moon because Moon is the fastest moving planet. Like Moon moves from one sign to another in like 2.25 days. So first, we would see how it is actually a combination of so many factors, and in relation to natal chart as well. So nothing really happens only because of transits, because transits happen every day, and it does not really impact everyone. But let's say uh, Moon is conjunct or Moon is transiting the seventh house, and you are running the dasha or timing period of the seventh lord. Okay, Moon is a faster moving planet, and Moon directly connects to our emotions. So Moon is emotional
So
mind.
just to explain, if, for example, your seventh house is ruled by Venus
Okay.
and the Moon is transiting and makes exact conjunction with Venus, then you may fall in love suddenly.
Okay. That having said, the person must be running through a ruling period of either fifth lord or seventh lord or any other planet that actually signifies relationships. Without that, the connection would not just happen. So, and we should see this from a cultural and geographical point of view, because in India it might actually turn out to be marriage, but in West it might just be uh, a start of a relationship or something. And love at first sight is more of a crush kind of thing, which might not even last longer. But still, uh, to see whether it lasts longer or not is entirely a different topic, and we'll
Exactly, it's
leave
another
that for
topic.
another day. We'll leave that
Yes.
for another day. But looking at, let's say, Moon is a faster moving planet, and if Moon is conjunct uh, the fifth lord or the seventh lord in the natal chart, when you're running the period of the fifth period ruled by fifth lord or seventh lord, it might be a very good scenario where you might actually fall in love with someone at first sight itself.
Yes.
That is one case. So, and things. See, Mars is probably the slowest of all the planets. Venus and Mars. Mars is actually the slowest of all the faster moving planets. Let's say Moon, Mercury, Venus, and then Mars. So, uh, but still, Mars is a planet that tends to do things at a quicker pace. So Mars is uh, like instinctiveness when it comes to Mars, and Mars gives rising desire, which the native might actually want it to happen at that particular moment itself. So Mars is also that kind of a planet where you might actually fall in uh, first sight itself. Um, especially when Mars is the seventh lord or fifth lord, you tend to actually uh, like in, not enjoy, but still um appreciate the beauty of women or the opposite sex.
But let's say that Mars is also significator of sexuality,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this is also very important, of course.
Yeah, so I was about to come to that point. So a person might actually tend to fall for the mere looks of a other person, be it man or woman. So for each other gender. So Mars is one of those planets where the sexual desires and the motive to get connected with the opposite sex gets increased when Mars gets in touch with uh, uh, the particular natal planet, which is either the fifth lord or the seventh lord. See, I think fifth lord gives more significance to love because fifth house is the house of love.
Yes, I
So
fully agree.
yeah, so fifth lord makes much more sense than the seventh lord, because seventh lord represents relationships, while the fifth lord represents love. So let's say Mars is conjunct, the transit Mars is conjunct your natal fifth lord, and makes some form of connection with the fifth house. In that case, uh, the uh, the connection to actually uh, manifest this kind of a result becomes much more than uh, just one connection. So here you have the connection with the house and also the planet. So let's say transit Mars is forming a trine with your um, natal fifth lord, and also forms some form of relationship with the fifth house, the natal fifth house. So there things might get kindled. And if you look at
Yes.
the so see, all this matters the most when you run a particular period ruled by the fifth house or the seventh house or Venus, uh, or Mercury in some cases. So without Venus, Mercury, um, Mars, it's really difficult to see love at first sight.
So if you're running periods, if your fifth house is ruled by Mars and you are running Martian period, like period ruled by Mars, and there is an aspect of Moon conjoined Mars, then you have a high possibility of having such thing, like love at
Yeah,
first sight.
yeah, especially when you're saying that moon is connected, moon is emotional mind, and it is like a direct connection between our desires and emotions. So in that case, so I say that Mars is desire and moon is emotion. So when emotion and desire comes together, so some form of immediate result occurs in our mind, and we tend to fall for a particular person um, at sight itself, especially when we are
Yes.
talking about love at first sight. And there are a few nakshatras that signify this in terms of Vedic astrology. Well, the nakshatras ruled by Venus, that is Purva Palguni, and Uttara Palguni ruled by Sun, is also a nakshatra that signifies love, um, so and emotions. So that is one of those cases where if these nakshatras or the stars form some kind of a relationship with your natal chart as a relationship signifying factor, you might fall into such kind of scenarios where uh, when Venus, Mars, or Mercury, or the seventh lord or the fifth lord of your natal chart gets activated.
This is very interesting. And also, can we say that one person is more prone to such emotions than other? And I would think that this would be this as a start. We need to search in the natal charts and see how Venus and Mars in particular are placed in the natal chart, how the ruler exactly of the fifth house, where is placed, what kind of aspects is the ruler of the fifth house making in the natal chart, so that we see how to what degree the person is open to such emotions like sudden fall in love, though it happens to everyone, but to what degree. I think this can be judged by the natal chart first.
Yeah, that degrees matter when it comes to natal chart, and when we form a relationship between the transit chart and natal chart. But first, let me establish why I say Venus and Mars, because
Yes.
I think I should have said it first. I think it is more significant to establish why Venus and Mars signify love for humans. See, from Nadi astrology point of view, Mars is the husband for women, while Venus is wife for men. Okay, some say Jupiter, but I stick to Venus. I stick to Mars for women as their spouse. Okay, so
Yes.
Mars is spouse for women, while Venus is spouse for men. So for that is the major significators. Okay, so for a man, Venus's transit and its connection to the fifth or seventh house, or the fifth lord or the seventh lord, with respect to specific degrees. When the ruling period of Venus or the fifth lord or the seventh lord happens, it will be a perfect time when something like first love, like love at first sight, might happen. And I also I would also like to stress at a point that Moon will surely form a relationship, because without Moon there is no emotion. So
Oh,
Moon
I
will
believe. I
certainly,
believe.
yeah, Moon will certainly form some kind of an emotion either in transit or natal chart or the solar return chart. I don't know how many of
Fully agree.
you use
Fully agree.
solar return chart, but solar return chart tends to give some astounding results uh, when you're
Right.
talking about a particular year. So let's say the solar return, like solar return chart and natal chart, along with the transit movement, form some kind of a relationship with the natal fifth or seventh ruler. That is a really high time signification of love at first sight.
Exactly, fully agree. And also, there is not only one factor to be considered.
Yeah,
Like in the medieval astrology, we look also at the profected ascendant. And this is very, very easy. Like you count when you were 1 year old, you know that your ascendant is ruling your life. When you're 2 years old, the second house. When you're 3 years old, the third, and so on. And it goes like a repetitive cycle. So
yeah,
when you're running the fifth house, ruling your life, adding other factors which you mentioned, then you really can either fall in love or start relationship. Same is valid for the seventh house. That is why there are particular ages, like when you're 18 or 32, or there were other periods when the cycle of the seventh house is ruling your life, then you can get married or start relationship. But
yeah.
of course, additional factors which you mentioned are needed, like the transits. And yes, but certainly I fully agree that without moon, no emotion.
Yeah, and there is other thing which is very interesting. Like, let's say when you're running some dasha, let it not be fifth or seventh lord, but if you're running the sub periods of those planets ruling the fifth or seventh house, even in that case, you tend to get into a relationship. But still, it is like the dasha lord tends to be the major significator or the CEO of the company, and the other planets, other sublords, the lords of the sub periods, will tend to follow the orders or instructions of the CEO, which is the Dasha Lord itself. Okay, so
Yes.
that is one of those things, important things that might actually prove to be very significant in our analysis. And see, other thing is to actually zero in at which day this would happen. You can actually take the Prana Dasha and Sukshma Dasha, or sorry, Sukshma Dasha and Prana Dasha, which uh, which are the fourth and fifth stages of Vimshottari Dasha. Okay, so it will be super significant if Moon is the ruler of your Prana Dasha or Sukshma Dasha or Prana Dasha, where you might actually get into days. Prana Dasha of Moon lasts about 2 days or something, and Sukshma Dasha of Moon lasts about I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 days, if I'm not wrong. So there you might actually end up uh, calculating the periods very closely. It is not just for love at first sight, but it is an overall uh, uh, it is an overall strategy to predict and close into dates or even time. So and here again, I think solar return chart plays a very important role. And see, to me, I use the solar return chart in, related to sun's exact degrees, related to your, which is relevant to your natal natal chart. Okay, so there are various usage of solar return charts. So, but I stick to solar return chart when sun exactly meets the natal degrees of sun. So in
Okay.
solar return chart, um, if you are running a particular period of fifth or seventh house, and uh, if that is very prominent in your solar return chart and also triggered by transit, so there is no escaping from what you
No,
call as love at first sight.
fully agree. I also use solar return charts together with perfection, which I just said the periods. It gives amazing results. I will say something else, which is about the three very slow planets, Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. And I know this is not the subject of the Vedic astrology, but it's shame if we have these planets discovered not to use them. And I will tell you that I've seen with many people when Uranus is making exact aspect, whichever aspect, either this will be square, trine, or opposition, or even sextile, which is 60 degrees aspect with Venus, square is 90 degrees aspect, exact, we're talking about exact aspect, opposition or trine, first people fall in love. How this will develop, Uranus is not romantic. This may not develop well, but it's important that people fall in love with this aspect. Same is with Pluto. Pluto is the deepest of the deepest. He's ruling, he's the core ruler of Scorpio, so deep. And when people have aspect transiting very, very slow Pluto to natal Venus, they tend to fall in love painfully deep. So this I discovered in many charts, and this is amazing. So apart from what you said, I fully agree with it. We can add also this: the slow moving planets give amazing results when talking about private feelings and relationships.
Yeah, sure. See, the the actual scenario or manifestation happens when the inner planet makes a significant aspect or relationship with the outer planet. Okay, so
Yes, yes.
that is something which is a very like basic thing, which is why we take transits into consideration. And any relationship or a strong relationship that the inner planet makes with the outer planet, inner planet in the sense moon, Mercury, Venus, makes any form of relationship with Saturn, Jupiter, or Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So there you might actually uh, tend to see some form of manifestations. And again, let's not forget moon. Moon is
No, of course, the moon needs to help. The moon needs to help with this aspect. Like there is also version that there is not death without the moon.
yeah.
People die with the help of the moon always.
Yeah, moon is very important. I've seen
With
in so many cases. So let's not ignore moon in love at first sight itself. After all,
no,
moon denotes emotions.
when children are born, moon takes part. When people get pregnant, moon takes part. Everything which is significant is signified by the moon. Absolutely.
Yeah, and let's not forget when moon when the progressed moon, secondary progressed moon makes a connection or a conjunction or an aspect with the fifth lord or seventh lord. That also is a very significant period for uh, like relationship or love or something. And solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is a very important thing because I didn't see, actually I didn't prepare for this video, but things are actually coming out. Solar eclipse is a very
Yes.
interesting thing because solar eclipse signifies beginning. When the solar eclipse happens in relation to your seventh house, fifth house, seventh lord or fifth lord or Venus or Mars, I think it is certainly a new beginning where you may tend to like get captivated or motivated by someone or someone's feelings, which actually might uh, push you to eventually fall in love with them. So that is one thing. So solar eclipse is a major factor.
Major factor, Ashwin, but solar eclipse is solar and lunar eclipses are negative events. How this will develop, maybe not in the most positive way. Then, if the
No,
solar eclipse
I think
would
solar
trigger.
eclipse signifies new beginning in every way. I see solar eclipse in a very positive manner, and a lot of it depends upon what kind of a relationship it makes with your timing period and also the natal chart. So I would not stereotype solar eclipse as a bad thing entirely, because I've seen solar eclipse bring out like kickstart so many relationships, and it has proved to be very important in their lives. It's not only about marital relationship or a romantic relationship, but it is also very significant in terms of beginning a particular partnership or something like that. So that is
All right.
very important. If a solar eclipse is happening in your 5th house or the 7th house, that is a perfect indication of start of a relationship or something like that. So that might actually signify love at first sight. So I see solar eclipse as a major factor, because I've
Major.
seen a few scenarios uh, relating to solar eclipse and new beginnings.
Very interesting. The eclipses are so complex, indeed. Very interesting. Well, maybe with this we can conclude, and we're waiting for your comments and questions. And Ashwin, you can find via his very interesting astrological magazine, Celestial Vibes, and I will post the direct link to his magazine. It's really amazing scientific astrological magazine. So thank you so much, Ashwin, and maybe we can continue this subject more into the long-lasting love relationships.
Yeah.
Because of course falling in love is only falling in love, but it doesn't promise any development.
Yeah.
So of
Yeah,
course this will be,
yes, I think it is important to continue this series as a continuation of a relationship as it is. So
yes, because this is just an indication of something that can strike somebody, but it's really not promising any continuation, and it's not promising that the opposite side will respond.
but as it is, this topic is a never-ending one. So
Never ending one. Just one thing that I noticed is that if you want a response from the opposite side, then you have to expect exact conjunction between the Mars of the one and the Venus of the other party in the two natal charts. This is just one proposition, but we can develop this further, certainly.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Welcome.